Hi everybody, I thought I would come and do a quick tutorial on how to make your own DIY scratchboard. I recently finished doing a journal swap with a Facebook group, and it was my first journal, and I wanted to do as many interactive elements as I could. So I watched a lot of videos on YouTube to try to find simple, fun, cool, interactive things that I could put in that journal. And one of the things I discovered was it's pretty easy to make your own DIY scratchboard. Now, we all know what those scratchboards are from our youth, and probably we've bought them for children in our lives before. And so I thought it was pretty cool that it's pretty easy and pretty basic to make. What you'll need to make your own scratchboard: some writing tools, some scissors, something to mix paint on. This is all I have at the moment, but you'll probably want like a little cup or a little bowl or something. Some clear packing tape, a paintbrush and some water, some dish soap, some acrylic paint, a plastic sheet or wax paper if you plan on sending your creation to someone and you want to protect it so it doesn't get scratched en route. You want a baseboard. Now, this is made out of cardboard. That's just what I had just at the moment, a piece of cardboard. But you can use copy paper or whatever you want for your baseboard. Chipboard, you can use cardstock. I just happen to be using this. Now, you'll want to cover your baseboard with either gesso or acrylic paint, something, because the baseboard, whatever's on this baseboard, this is what's going to show through when art or whatever is scratched on the pad. So you want to have something, either a solid color, or you can even use pattern paper. So remember, like when this scratched off, this yellow is what's going to peek through. You can even leave it plain white paper if you just want a solid design. Whatever you do, make sure you choose a nice tight pattern if you're going to add a pattern to the baseboard, because if the pattern is too wide or too big or too bold or too out of proportion, you won't really see it when the art is scratched off, and you want to be able to see your pattern underneath. That's the entire whole point of it. So you can use no color if you just don't mind things being, if that doesn't bother you, you just want something plain. You can use pattern paper, magazine paper, paper stacks if you want cute little design underneath, but make sure it's a nice tight small pattern. This will do just fine. Or you can just use a solid color or gesso. So, and then the other thing you'll need is something to color on top of this with. You can use colored pencils, which is what I used, I believe, in my journal. And if I didn't, I used colored crayons. Or you can use acrylic paint. So I'm going to clear this off so we can kind of get started and you can see how easy it is, and you can make your own scratchboards. The first thing you want to do after you've prepared your baseboard, and that's what I call the paper that's going to be on the bottom. So whatever you use, cardboard, cardstock, chipboard, paper stack, copy paper, that's your baseboard. You still have to add the colors to it, whether you're using colored pencils, crayons, or acrylic paint. And I'm sure you can use oil pencils or crayons or oil paint, but you just have to make sure it's completely dry before you do the other steps after you cover it. So you can put your little title or whatever you want to call it, a birthday scratchboard, art board, whatever you want to call it, or you don't have to put a name at all. So you're going to take your colors and just randomly scratch them over. They can overlap. Alright, so I'm going to color this and then I'll come back when it's all done. Okay, I'm back and it's all colored in. Now, as you can see, there are striations in the coloring because I used gesso, homemade gesso at that, to paint the board white, the baseboard. So you can see the brush strokes as well as the lines, the natural lines that occur in the cardboard. So if you don't want that, then you probably don't want to use cardboard. You can probably just use copy paper, chipboard, or paper stack paper, cardstock. So this may lend an interesting element to it, but if you don't want your stuff to be interesting, then don't use cardboard. Like I said, again, I just used that because it was right next to me. So after you color your board, or you're going to put your paper or your pattern paper or whatever down, you need some clear packing tape, and you're just going to cover it. Now I'm sure you can already see what we're doing here, what we're creating. You probably don't need 3 strips of tape, but I'm going to use 3. And if you can get away with doing your project within the size of 2 strips of tape, depending on how wide your tape is. So this is probably like an 1.5 or 2-inch tape. So there. You want to make sure you don't have any bubbles. And when you put the crayons and stuff down, of course, the tape is not really going to stick to it all that well. So you do want to be able to wrap your tape around the edges. So I didn't do it on this side, but you really want to put it around it so that it stays in place. So now it's coated with the tape. And we'll move on to the next step. So I'm going to put this back because this really isn't a good mixing tool unless you're only going to do a very small area. I found a tiny little cup that I could use for this. So I've got the water, I've got the paintbrush, and it's cloudy because I was painting white. So whatever color you choose, and I have my fan on, so stuff is blowing around. And you can put more paint in there than that, but I'm just showing you. You're going to take just about a drop or so, or 2, of the dish liquid, put it in there, stir it up gently, but don't go crazy stirring it because you don't want to get bubbles forming. You just want to get the paint loose. You're not trying to froth it up. I think I might need a tad little more. So you're just mixing it gently. Once you have it mixed, paint your board. And you may need 2 coats depending on how thick your paint is, which is fine. So I will come back after I've finished painting this. Okay, I'm back. That took about a good 10-15 minutes to dry. I just let it dry totally and completely. So now you have your scratch art board, and like I said, if you're going to mail this to somebody, you might want to put a protective covering over it so that it doesn't get scratched in transit. But if you just want to use it, well, you just grab your sharp tool as such, and then you start scratching away, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now you only get one shot with a scratch board, so did like a leaning Christmas tree here, but I'll try to fix that up, and then you can decorate it. And as you can see, as you scratch, the designs come through, and you can do whatever you want. So you see that, and you can see all of the beautiful colors shining through, and it's pretty cool. I mean, you can even use like whatever tools, so that can scrape off even more, you know. Depending on what tool you use, you see you can scratch different designs. Now you will get little specks everywhere, so there'll be some cleanup later, but you can see you can make something really fun and interactive and interesting. Be something great to do with the kids as a holiday. You can do just red and green underneath, and or you can just do black underneath and use red and green paint on the top, so you don't have to just use one color. You can mix, you can do red and green stripes with the paint and the dish liquid. Some other ideas: you can do weekly reward cards for the kids, so if they do all of their chores, they get to scratch something off, or weekly freedom from chores, so if they do all their chores, they get to scratch something off and see what they don't have to do that week. But either way, or this is great for grandmas too, if the kids are asking for money and stuff at birthday times and stuff. You can put a different amount under each and have them scratch out their own amount, and so in essence they can choose what their monetary present is going to be. So, oh look, little Chloe just scratched off $5 for her birthday present. So you can do 5, 10, 15, depending on how old the kids are. If they're in their teens or adults or whatever, of course the amount will be much higher. So there's no limit to what you can do with this type of thing. So here's that other yellow card, and you don't even have to fill up the entire card. You can do it however you want. I'm kind of just trying to look for a big scraping tool. You can get as creative as you want with these. So you can make your own lottery tickets. So wouldn't that be awesome? So paint actually kind of got under there because it wasn't stuck down well enough. So you always want to make sure the tape is really stuck down, so that doesn't happen. You don't get paint under there. But isn't that cute? You can get very creative with these. Now what woman wouldn't want to scratch that off? And here's another thing, if you don't want to deal with using tape, you can, I've seen people take a candle and rub all over the paper with a candle, just a pure white wax candle first, and then they will put the paint on top of it to be scratched off. So you would put your base board down, put your sentiment or whatever you want, then you would put a coat of wax on the top of it, and then put your paint with the dish liquid on it so they could scratch it off. That seems to me like a more one-off type option. But with the tape, say it's something like a weekly card, you know, you can scratch it off and then you can put another dab of the paint back on and you can use it again. Same thing with this. When this gets filled up, you can scrape the whole thing down, put another coat of black, and you can use it again. You don't even have to put a title on it. You can do it. You can make a perpetual calendar, anything that you want to scratch off. So that is pretty quick and easy way to make your own DIY scratch board. If there's any other tutorials or something you would like me to try to see if I can do, leave them in the comments and I will do my best. Thank you guys, and I'll see you in the next video or live stream. Bye.